Hello, Taurus, and welcome to my channel, Tarot by Gabrielle. This is going to be a reading for February, like mid-February 2023, looking at your recent past, your current energy, and your immediate future. As you can see, I've already gone ahead and pulled the oracle cards and clarified those. I have the overall energy for the reading. We'll dive into tarot, and then I have the decks I'll be using in the extended. Any information on the extended reading or on booking a personal reading with me is in the description box below. Last thing is, please remember, these are general readings. They will not resonate for everyone. So remember to take what resonates and helps your personal situation and leave what does not. Okay, I can tell you right away that this reading is going to be about overcoming your shadow self when it comes to some sort of opportunity here. Because in your recent past, you have stepped out of your comfort zone with the Eight of Pentacles in reverse. So there's something that you've been trying to build, a relationship, a career. Got dog hair all over me. Something that it hasn't come to fruition the way that you've wanted it to yet. And I feel like in your recent past, you did step out of your comfort zone. I definitely feel like that's the case. And I feel like right now you're very out of your comfort zone. And I feel like that's what you're struggling with, is remaining outside of your comfort zone and not feeling like you should pull back into your comfort zone for safety. But also I feel like there might be more steps you have to take outside of your comfort zone. I'm not sure yet. We'll get more information, because your current energy is believe in the impossible with the Ace of Pentacles. So what you're wanting, this opportunity that you're wanting, it feels impossible right now. But the universe is saying believe in the impossible, because I don't think it's as impossible as you think it is. Now, the overall energy for the reading, and why I mentioned your shadow self, is because you have meditate and shadow. So this really is talking about, learning to process your shadow side, and that shadow part of you is the part of you that is a little bit more fearful. It's, if you want to think faith versus fear, your shadow side is the person, the part of you, not the person, the part of you that has a tendency to believe in your fear a little bit more, your triggered, unhealed self. And so this is about not letting your shadow self make decisions for you right now. Because I feel like, when things start to feel really uncomfortable, especially if we're outside of our comfort zone for some reason, it's really easy to allow that shadow aspect of us to have more of a say than it should. And in your immediate future, you have balanced spirituality and practicality with the Justice card here. So this is another card of balance, which, the Justice can also mean to me like getting what you deserve, getting what is meant for you. And in your immediate future, this is learning to balance the physical aspect of something with the spiritual aspect of something. And we'll talk so much more about that in this reading, because I feel like that's going to be essentially the point of this reading, is learning to find that balance between your fear and understanding that your fear, yes, it's absolutely real, but it's not a truth. Your fear is valid, and the way that you feel about your fear is valid, but it doesn't mean that your fear is actually saying you have anything to fear at all, right? It's that classic, the only thing you have to fear is fear itself. But let's dive in, Taurus, to your recent past. Let's see what's going on in your recent past. You have stepped out of your comfort zone with that Eight of Pentacles in reverse. This is Taurus's recent past, please. Two of Pentacles in reverse with the Nine of Swords in reverse. I want to get a little bit more on this reading, please, or on this message. Clarifying this message with the Two of Pentacles in reverse and the Nine of Swords in reverse. Okay. So it's something that you're having to face. You had in your recent past to face like failure, almost. Not that the whole thing, you were failing at the whole thing, but there was a certain aspect of something that you were facing failure about, because this feels like a fear of failure, because then you have this Three of Swords. So you fear this heartbreak, and you had to face it too. Like, I feel like you were hitting situations that were poking at an underlying fear of something never coming to fruition, something never coming together for you. and you were facing a lot of anxiety around this. Now, I also feel like that was necessary because we've got to face it and feel it to heal it, right? So you were facing a lot of things that were triggering this underlying fear of, I mean, ultimately, like getting hurt, like feeling like you made the wrong decision, or feeling like you're like it's a lot about not trusting yourself too. How this is making sense. So this was your recent past, and it was almost like, yes, things were imbalanced. You were giving more than you're getting, and I feel like that's still kind of the case. You're investing more than you're receiving, but that doesn't mean that it's going to be like this forever. It's almost like that you were hitting this bump, maybe even a few bumps in the road that are trying to get you, I mean, to this Ace of Pentacles, right? This opportunity, I feel like, is yours. Recent past for Taurus. That's why you have meditate in shadow. I feel like your shadow side would have a tendency to sabotage this if you let it. Recent past for Taurus. Yeah, because there's the Ace of Cups and the Nine of Swords. Can I get a little bit more on this? With the Three of Pentacles in reverse. Okay, and then there's the Lovers. So this is, you know, through facing these trials and tribulations, if you will, you're learning a lot about, first and foremost, what you deserve. And also, you're learning a lot about your fear. Because if there's one thing I've learned about fear, it's that it's always the same. Anytime we're experiencing fear, it usually comes down to things that, we're fearful of, that, like for instance, if you're, like fear of failure, like every trigger that you're having comes back to fear of failure. Every situation comes back to having a fear of being alone, or a fear of, ending up homeless because you don't have the money you need, or whatever the case is. Your fear, it always stems from one larger fear, one like root fear. And so we have to learn, when we're being triggered by something, we have to find the underlying fear associated, because then whenever we feel triggered, we can say, oh, yeah, that's my fear. That's my fear of failure coming up again. I don't need to worry about this, because that fear, it doesn't matter. I can choose faith instead. Now, it's not easy to do, but doing it over and over again starts to retrain your brain to think in alignment with faith as opposed to fear. And this is all about, if this is an opportunity that's meant for you, which I absolutely believe it is, if this is your reading, then the universe has your back. But it doesn't feel like that because you're focusing, this is why you have the balance, spirituality, and practicality. You're focusing so much on the practical side of things instead of being able to bring the spiritual side in and say, you know what? I might be fearful, but the only thing I have to fear, per the law of attraction, what I focus on is what I attract. If I focus on fear, I'm going to attract fear. If I process my fear while keeping a mindset of faith, then I'm going to attract the abundance I'm ultimately searching for. So you've learned a lot through what you've been experiencing. All right, recent past for Taurus. The Empress in reverse with the Queen of Wands in reverse. So I talked about how you're learning a lot about your value too. Because you have a tendency to get frustrated when something isn't giving you what you deserve. When you feel like you're investing in something and it is not giving you back what you deserve. Rightfully so, right? That frustration is absolutely very valid. But then there's also this level of, with the Empress in reverse, making sure that you're putting your needs, your desires, your goals first. That you're choosing yourself instead of choosing fear. And what that can look like is wanting to pursue a passion, but choosing to spend most of your time in your 9-to-5 job instead, because that pays the bills. But your passion can make you really happy, but you're afraid that taking a leap of faith towards that wouldn't pan out. But then there's also like, if you're in a relationship, you're staying in a relationship that doesn't fulfill you because you're afraid that you'd never be able to find the relationship that does. And that's a level of choosing fear, right? We fear something isn't going to happen, so we settle for what we have. And I feel like that's why you have this step out of your comfort zone, is this is about taking a leap of faith towards what does serve you, so that you don't have to experience this energy, this frustration, it gets to a point where you start to resent your circumstances. But to you, the opportunity that you ultimately want, yeah, because there's the Magician in reverse, the opportunity that you ultimately want, it feels impossible. But nothing's impossible if you have the universe on your side, which you do. It's just about believing that, right? Okay, current energy for Taurus. Current energy for Taurus, please. It's like choosing yourself will pay off more than you think. You're sticking to something from your past. Something that's been a part of your life for so long, so it's hard to think about letting it go. But it's not, it's almost like, because you're doing that, you're not allowing what's meant for you to flow. Now, trust me, I understand, because then you have this Three of Swords, like the thought of, if there is something you need to walk away from, or something that you need to, let go, or whatever the case might be, you fear this Three of Swords energy. You fear this heartache, this heartbreak, this like regret almost. But there's this level of like, of needing to, that's your shadow side, right? Is your shadow side is always going to cling to the things that make you feel safe, that make you feel comfortable, that make you feel like you're settling too, because it's your shadow side is rooted in fear. And that's why this is not just about working through, being out of your comfort zone about something. It's also working through that side of you that is rooted in fear, so that you can start to see things through the lens of faith a little bit more than fear. Current energy for Taurus. Current energy for Taurus, please. You've got to let go of this idea that things are going to work out exactly like you expect them to, or exactly like you think they should. Doesn't mean they're not going to work out. It just means that it's not going to play out exactly like your comfort zone would want them to. And that's because that's what gets you in this lack of hope, is when you're saying, if I don't get, I don't know, if this specific relationship doesn't work out, then I'm going to be alone forever. If I don't make this specific amount of money by the end, if I don't get my big break by the end of this month, or if I don't make this specific amount of money by the end of this month, then I'm never going to get to where I'm trying to go. And it's this learning to let go and let it flow, right? Because then you have a tendency to get yourself into this feeling of lacking hope. And there's that Three of Swords. I want clarity on this Three of Swords, because it's been around a lot. Clarity on this Three of Swords for Taurus. Clarity on this Three of Swords for Taurus. Because you've experienced this. Oh, I get what this is saying. This is about surrendering to pain. surrendering to the fear, surrendering to the anxiety. Because that's the thing is, choosing faith over fear, that doesn't mean you don't acknowledge your fear. Your fear is always going to be there. It's always going to be a part of your existence. You're never going to get to a point where you're like, oh, wow, everything is so certain and I don't fear anything at all. That's just never going to happen. So faith, it comes down to being a choice. But in order to choose faith, you have to accept your fear. It's that whole concept of befriending your demons, right? Befriending your fear, to where you get to a point, like I said, it always kind of boils down to that root fear. So you get to the point where you say, I know that fear. I know that fear. I've met that fear. We've been through, I've been through hell with that fear. I know what it's like to follow that fear, and I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm going to choose faith instead. Doesn't mean the fear goes away, but it does shrink. It has less control over you. It has less of an impact on your path because you're not choosing it. You're accepting it, you're acknowledging it, but you're not choosing it. So this is about surrendering to pain. That's this meditate in shadow. Like, you have to learn to, it's like, be so present in your life and in your choices and in your circumstances that you're able to choose faith. And that's really hard to do when you're experiencing fear. But it's that's how you dig yourself out of it. It never just goes away, because there's the world card. All right, let's get one more for Taurus's current energy. This is current energy for Taurus. Current energy. Oh my goodness. Current energy for Taurus, please. The King of Wands in reverse. So this is self-doubt. But your self-doubt is triggered by your expectations of how things should go. So if things don't play out exactly like you expect, you start to internalize it as, I'm incapable. This isn't possible. I knew this would happen. I'm never going to get there. And that's very normal. It's a very human thing to do. But that's why you don't want to choose. And that's where it comes down to learning to let things flow and not have expectations, right? Your expectations, or your anxiety of the future, your fear of the future robs you of your joy today. And your expectations rob you of your joy tomorrow. If you expect things to go a certain way and they don't pan out, then you end up getting, disappointed. And that disappointment then leads to you feeling like it's never going to work out. Like it's like it can spiral you into worst case scenarios really quickly. I actually just kind of had an experience with that this past weekend. And so it's really important that you, in your current energy, you believe in the impossible. Believe in what feels impossible but aligns with what you desire, aligns with your passions, because your passions are constantly leading you to what you desire. And so I feel like this has a lot to do with, it's choosing yourself. It's choosing your path. It's taking the leaps of faith that are needed. But, in order for us to take leaps of faith, and usually what that looks like is taking a small leap of faith, dealing with a lot of fear, taking a little bit of a smaller, a little bit of another leap of faith and dealing with that fear. It's a progress. It's a progression. That's what I'm going to say. It's not a one big leap of faith and then all of a sudden you're good, right? No, you got to take a leap of faith here, deal with that fear, take another one, and that's life, right? Faith, dealing with fear, choosing faith, dealing with fear, choosing faith, dealing with fear, and that will never stop. And so learning to do it when you're pursuing something that is in alignment with your heart, in alignment with your soul, in alignment with your soulful goals, that's what gets you to where you're trying to go. It's not crossing your fingers and saying, I hope this works out. You have to make the choice and say, I am pursuing what's meant for me there, and I have good intentions, because there's not really a such thing as, making the right moves or doing the right thing. There is, however, such a thing as having aligned intentions. Your intentions are in the right place. Your intentions are aligned. If your intentions are good, then the actions will follow. So focus on your intentions. What are you trying to create? What are you trying to build for yourself? What's the end goal? Don't focus too hard on the end goal, because it's about the journey, not the destination. But what is your end goal? Set your intentions and then have the faith that everything is going to, pan out as it needs to. And the fear and the anxiety and the frustration that you deal with are merely you dealing with the blocks of getting you to where you're trying to go. Immediate future for Taurus, clarifying balance, spirituality, and practicality with the Justice card. Immediate future for Taurus. Immediate future for Taurus, please. There's the leap of faith. There's the leap of faith. But it's when you find this balance, because no matter what, when you take a leap of faith, you are going to experience fear. There is no way around that. And whether you build your faith up, and that's that whole concept of you're never going to be fully ready, right? You're never going to get to a point where you're like, yes, this is the perfect time for me to take this leap of faith. That's never going to happen. You have to, sure, you've got to get your faith to a certain level to take the leap, but then after that, that's when you start building your faith. Your faith is built through the leaps we take, right? And so this is about taking a step out of your comfort zone and following your heart. Choosing what makes you happy, choosing what makes you feel good, choosing yourself, choosing your passions. If you are not living the life of your dreams, it is because a level of you does not believe that it is possible. And so your immediate future is about taking that leap of faith and balancing the spirituality with the practicality. Sure, you could sit there and crunch numbers all day long and think about how it's impossible that you're going to be able to make money to sustain yourself through this business, new business you're trying to start. Or you could, do what you need to do and have the faith that everything's going to play out. You don't have to overthink it. I mean, of course, trust me, this is coming from the queen of overthinking. You don't have to overthink it, but it doesn't mean that it's not going to be that easy not to. But it's trusting that the leap that you take, if it's in faith, faith is going to follow. Faith will pan out for you. The universe has your back. It doesn't mean you're not going to hit bumps on the road. It doesn't mean you're not going to be afraid and triggered by, certain aspects of the leap. But it does mean that through dealing with those triggers and the frustration and the anxiety and all of that comes with taking leaps of faith, you're going to build your faith up even more so that the next time you need to take another leap, it's not going to be as hard. You're going to be dealing with different fears that you're stronger to be able to handle now. That's the beauty of this journey, is that every time we face our fear, you get a little bit more acquainted with it. All right, immediate future. Oh my gosh, for Taurus. Immediate future for Taurus, please. So right now, because you have this meditate and shadow card, I really feel like this is about trying to remain as balanced as possible. Trying not to let your shadow side have a say in your path, because like I said, it would be really easy to do that when you do take a leap of faith and you do start to deal with fear. So meditation, I feel like, would be a really big key for you. Immediate future for Taurus, to help you work through some of the shadow stuff, because there's the Nine of Pentacles. When you're able to take this leap of faith, what you want is going to start happening really fast. Because look at that. The Eight of Wands, the Ace of Pentacles, and the Ace of Wands. It's an opportunity to pursue a passion. There's that same Ace of Pentacles is right here. There's something moving quick. And then look at that. There's your Nine of Pentacles. This is wish fulfillment. This is manifestation materializing. And so this is about a leap of faith. And understanding that it's not going to be perfect. You're never going to get to a point where you're like, oh, wow, this journey's so easy. Because it's not. It's not supposed to be. It doesn't have to be painful, and it doesn't have to be, difficult to where it's exhausting and we're burning ourselves out and there's no benefit, right? That's not the point. The point is to face the challenge, face the fear, face the uncertainty, so that it can't control you anymore. So this is about a leap of faith, and this leap of faith, it would pay off as long as you didn't let your fear sabotage it. Immediate future for Taurus. This leap of faith will pay off if you let it. Immediate future for Taurus, please. Look at that. Five of Swords or the King of Pentacles. This is finding this stability, this grounding, this balance, and releasing yourself from this idea that the universe doesn't have your back. Because there's the Ten of Pentacles. This is the second time I've seen this Ten of Pentacles. So this Ten of Pentacles is possible, but you have to create it. This Ten of Pentacles isn't going to show up at your doorstep. It's got to be created by you, and it's got to be created by you taking steps in faith. And when I talk about faith, if it's a God for you, if it's the universe, if it's spirit, if it's the divine, if it's your guides, ancestors, it doesn't matter. Whoever you believe has your back, just believe they have your back. That's the goal here. It doesn't need to be, there's no dogma here. It's not what this is about, right? This is about faith in something bigger than you and believing that faith is leading you to where you're trying to go. Because it is. I mean, that's exactly what it is. It's exactly what's happening here. Okay, Taurus, we are going to hop on over to the extended, clarify these messages, see if I can get some more specific information. And then I have the overall advice card I'll be pulling at the end. Thank you guys so much, as always, for the support of my channel. It means the absolute world to me. I hope this reading helped and resonated with some of you out there. And I hope to see you back on my channel in the future. Thank you, Taurus.